It's Beer O'Clock, and this is the Beer O'Clock Show. It's a new year and a new season, and joining me atop a pile of empty bottles from a weekend of excess following his return to the fold after his very long dry January is my beer mentor and the man with somewhat of a plan, Steve. Hello, Steve.
Hello, Mark. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm chuffed to be back. It's happy days.
Yeah, you had an amazing triathlon which you're doing on for the benefit of Cancer Research UK. You smashed it. You had a 250 quid target to begin with. Is that right?
Yep,
And how much?
250.
Tell the boys and girls how much you earned in the end.
Total amount as it stands now is £555. Been some amazingly generous people out there, which I'm not going to list them all, because there is a blog up on the website that does list everybody that donated. But for those that listen and donated a few pennies, thank you very, very much. I was absolutely blown away by the response to the fundraising efforts.
Yeah, it was good work, man. And you suffered for it as well. You were gagging for a pint by the end.
I was. There were a few points throughout the month. There was kind of that first weekend, which was early on in January, where I was still kind of in the Christmas drinking mode and I just really wanted to drink. That was a hard one. And then kind of the middle weekend was a tough one. And then last week, just towards the end of it, I was just like, you know what, I've had enough of this now. I just want a beer.
And also last week is when Magic Rock released their latest batch of Cannonball.
They did,
I must have got
yes.
you a bit thirsty.
Well, yeah, and I secretly managed to get myself a few bottles of that. I didn't put any restrictions on me buying beer
No.
in January not to drink. So
Exactly.
yeah, I managed to get. I think I realised that they'd gone on sale on the website the day after they had gone up, and by the time I went in, there was something like about 27 bottles left. So, as tempted as I was to grab all 27 of them and then resell them myself, I just grabbed half a dozen.
Cool. Okay, and we're going to go straight into what the season's about and all the beers and everything. But before we get to that, we have a little bit of news, which is breaking news as of tonight. Although by the time everyone hears this, it'll be about 5 days old. Steve, why don't you tell everyone the fantastic news that we heard tonight?
Yeah, tonight was the final of the Craft Beer Company National Homebrewing Awards 2014, which competition Craft Beer Co. set up in collaboration with Dark Star Brewing, who are based down in Sussex. So they had well over 100 entrants for the competition. 400 different bottles of beer went in. A £5,000 cash prize for the winner, and a contract with Dark Star to brew the winning beer to be distributed by Dark Star as well. And just before we went on air to record this evening, the winners were announced, and I'm more than pleased to say that in third place, friends of the show, Crema Brewery, with their Red Snow Rye, which I think was the beer we actually featured back on the Homebrew
Yeah, it
special.
was lovely.
So yeah, they placed third place for that, and apologies to whoever got second. Didn't really catch your name because I was too excited about the winner, which was again another, what I'm going to call him a friend of the show, Andy Parker, Tabamatu, now award-winning homebrewer with his American Red beer. So congrats, Andy and Chris and Emma, all very well-deserved winners.
Indeedy. And he is a friend of the show. We've met him quite a few times.
Yes,
Yeah.
official friend of the show.
Well, yeah.
Anything we can do to latch on to somebody else's success, mate.
Exactly. Oh, very well done, Chris and Emma and Andy. Very proud of us. Proud of how you we are. We're not proud of us. We're no life scum.
Well, you could say if it wasn't for their appearance on the show back in the Homebrew special, we made them what they
Oh
are.
yeah, well they've got that Beer O'Clock show aura around them there.
Yeah, that's it.
It's a footnote in their bio.
Everything we touch turns to gold.
Or brown or something.
Yeah.
Right, we've got a great season lined up for you with such a long list of beers facing us. Such a long season, we're actually splitting it in half. We're going to be taking a month off at the end of April. Nothing to do with me actually going overseas and not being able to record the show. So consider this season 4, part 1. And like last season's focus on American beers, this season we're geographically focused yet again. But rather closer to home, we'll be spending the next few months looking at London breweries, both old and new, and sampling a huge variety of beery goodness. So let's get this season started with this week's selection from an incredibly new brewery who started only last year, I think. Steve, tell us a little bit about this mob.
Okay, yeah, we've featured these guys on the show before. Hop Stuff Brewery, based at Woolwich Arsenal, down in southeast London. We featured an interview with James back in October. This was the guy that had crowdsourced all of the funding for his brewery. We featured the interview in the week that they launched Hop Stuff Brewery. I've since been down and visited him a couple of times as he launched his first beers, and then as he launched some new bottled selection for Christmas. And part of what we're going to aim to do this season is when we feature one of these beers from a London brewery, we've been extremely lucky that quite a lot of the breweries have been quite open to us popping in and visiting them and actually sitting down and recording an interview with us. So you'll be able to check out the interview with James at the end of the show that talks about the brewery and what their plans are for the coming year.
Indeed. So this week's beer is... Now, they started off with 2 beers and then they introduced another 2, and this is one of the other 2.
Yes.
This is their Renegade IPA. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. They do a pale ale. They do a amber ale, right? And they also do a porter.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. And I was looking on their website. I actually did some research on this. It's amazing.
Hello, new for season 4. Mark's researching the beers.
They're getting their beers in loads of pubs. They've been in market stalls selling their beers and everything, so they're doing quite well considering they're only opened in October or so.
Yeah.
And they're based at the Royal Arsenal in the Royal Borough of Greenwich, which is why they've got a porter named, what was it called, Gunners Porter. Yeah, as a little tribute to the Royal Arsenal where they're based. Anyway.
Got nothing to do at this stage in time with Arsenal Football Club whatsoever. But the history of Arsenal Football Club can be traced back to Woolwich Arsenal.
Oh, right,
Hence why Arsenal have the same sort of gun logo as their badge.
Check you out.
I know, a little bit of boring football trivia. Like anybody that follows football doesn't know that fact, honestly.
Well, this is Maris Otter malt are in this beer, and Citra, Cascade, and a little Summit hop. Citra hop is obviously one that we've had quite a bit in quite a few beers. It's quite a popular hop in the UK, isn't it, Citra?
It is very popular at the moment, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm assuming we'll get somewhat of the familiar IPA taste from this, but it'll be interesting to see what else we get.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the things that James has said and that they say on the bottle here as well is that while they enjoy the current craft beer scene, that they don't really want to be too overpacked with hops in their beers.
Good.
So I tried to listen to what you said at the end of last season, mate. I've had enough of hop bombs. So we're hopefully going with something that's a little bit more subtle to start with.
Cool. Good. It's a 5.6% ABV, so it's a decent beer to get started with on season 4 of the Beer O'Clock Show. So let's do that right now. Let's crack it open.
Oh, how I've missed this.
Lovely scent coming out of it. This is a bottle conditioned IPA as well.
It is. So pour carefully. Unless you want lumps floating around.
Oh, do you remember that Cooper's Sparkling Ale?
Yes.
has a load of sediment in the bottom. I actually read somewhere that the Australian way of drinking that is to roll it on the bar top before you open it, to distribute the sediment all through the bottle, and then pour it all out. So it's supposed to be cloudy, but obviously if you do that, it mixes it a little bit more and perhaps is not quite lumpy and obviously sedimenty.
Okay, we might have to give that one another go then.
Yeah.
And drink it the Australian way.
Anyway, I've poured this out into my Leffy glass because it's the only clean one I could find. Lovely carbonation through it.
Oh, yeah.
Really lovely colour.
Lovely lemony hit off of the aroma.
Yeah, it's very clear as well.
Yes. I've got a lovely cold haze forming on the glass.
Lovely fresh scent off it. Yeah, you get the slight lemony zest on the nose, don't you?
Yeah.
Very clean smelling.
It's got a really inviting aroma to it.
Yeah, and you don't get that really grassy hoppiness that you can sometimes get on
No,
some IPAs.
it's very well balanced aromas.
Anyway, shall we crack into it, mate?
Yes, mate. Let's do this.
Yeah, chin chin.
Cheers. Interesting.
Mm.
None of the aromas are in the flavour.
No.
There.
First taste, I'm going to say this tastes like a good IPA.
Solid
Yeah.
IPA.
You got that nice sharp bitterness, but a really smooth beer taste to it. People know what I mean.
Getting in early with the it tastes like beer. What colour does it taste of? I think this is going to be a new feature that I've just decided we're going to introduce. You're going to have to describe every beer that we drink. What colour does it taste like?
I won't lie. I was actually trying to think of what colour it was tasting like when I first started tasting it. Kind of orangey, but with a little brown streak.
You know, just before you said that, I was going to suggest orange because actually the flavours in it are giving me some of that bitterness that you get with orange sometimes. You know, when you get and I can't speak because I'm not a fan of oranges. I tend to eat tangerines and satsumas, so it's more of the sharp, sweet bitterness that you get with a satsuma or a smaller citrus fruit that maybe isn't an orange.
Yeah, when you get the ones that are kind of like a little bit darker in the fruit and they have that really sharpness to them.
Yeah.
They're sweet, but yeah, I know what you mean. Definitely. What I like about this is how smooth it is, though.
So it's a real easy drinker.
Yeah. You got the hop profile kind of falls back into the back of your mouth, onto the back of your tongue, leaving the rest of your mouth to enjoy that nice, smooth maltiness. Very, very smooth, very well balanced. I like this. This is an IPA that I could drink.
Yeah, it's your type of IPA, isn't it? It's not massively hopped. The hops are very well balanced in there. The flavours are combining really well, and it's leaving a lovely soft bittery finish to it.
Yeah,
as well.
The hoppiness is a character of the beer. It's not a reason for the beer, which is what I like.
Interestingly, it's almost seamless. That the reason for the beer being was this was the beer that everybody that invested in hop stuff. This particular beer was brewed for them. Because this was the beer that James started off producing as a homebrew when he was just a home brewer. So when he launched his crowdsourcing pitch, it was like you get to invest in the brewery and we'll also brew you a beer specifically for all the investors, and this was it. Oh, wow. So the beer does actually have a reason for being as well.
Yeah, at 5%,
it is very, very good.
Yeah, at 5.6%, I wouldn't be able to have too many, but I wouldn't be turned off.
This is enjoyable.
It is. Yeah, what I like about it is I don't have that much left.
No, me either.
You, but it's not getting to that point where you're at the bottom of the glass and you go, oh, I've got to finish this now. You know, with the malt kind of condenses and the hoppiness is kind of makes it all a little bit sickly. Do you know what I mean when you're getting towards the end of an IPA? And it
Yeah,
kind of all kind of pools together into a clump of brown.
it it can become a bit cloying sometimes.
It
I
can,
think
yeah.
that's maybe what you're looking
Yeah.
for, rather than it turns into a clump of brown. Brilliant. You know what? Let's really start like we mean to carry on.
Exactly.
Just to mention that.
On first shows back, I generally struggle to make a fool of myself, but no, I'm
No,
doing well.
you've done spectacularly well this evening, even by your own standards.
Sorry, mate, you were going to say something.
I was just going to say, for an alternative opinion on this, I was having a chat with another friend of the show, the hashtag some random bloke off Twitter, as he now calls himself, Justin Mason, and I gave him a couple of bottles of the Hop Stuff beers before Christmas, and he's reviewed them this week on his blog. So one of the beers that he's reviewed is the Renegade IPA. So if you want to have a read of what Justin thinks of this, I know he's done a slightly different interview with James as well, because I've had a look at what he's done. Check out Justin's site, masonjust.blogspot.co.uk, and that's Get Beer, Drink Beer, and just have a look at his Beers of London series, which will feature Hop Stuff Brewery this week as well.
Very good. I'm just tapping this in.
Is it in there?
Yeah, you got to scroll a little bit to find it.
There are a few other Renegade IPAs. Well, that was a good start to the season, mate.
It was. I'm going to give this. I'm going to give it 4 out of 5. Very good.
I think.
Go on.
Go on. No, you go on. You were.
I was going to say it's great to see a brand new brewery putting out a beer that doesn't try and stamp its mark on the market by being unusual. You could have a brand new brewery thinking, I'm going to do a quintuplet IPA with 17 different types of hops and no malt or something stupid to really try and stand out. But instead he just does a very good, very reliable, very drinkable IPA, and that's commendable.
Yeah, that's what I've found from all of their beers so far, because I've tried all of the Hop Stuff offerings to date, and I've been fairly impressed with all of them. They've all had a really good flavour to them. They've been really easy to drink. They've been really enjoyable. I did struggle with the Gunner's Porter, which I did as part of the 12 beers of Christmas, but it might have been because it was in a 750ml bottle, and I decided I was going to do the lot.
Why not?
Yeah, why not? It was Christmas after all. But yeah, no, it's good stuff that they're churning out down at Woolwich at the moment.
Very good indeed. And don't forget to stick around for the end of the show for the interview that you did with James in the brewery itself.
Yes.
Very good. Right, I'm just going to finish this off.
Okay. Well, shall I just talk about how people can maybe get hold of the beers that we're doing this season? Yeah. It's been up on the site for a couple of weeks now, but we decided not to go down the route of putting together a box for this season, because we thought that was a little bit too limiting, a bit constrictive maybe if people wanted to purchase other beers from some of the suppliers. So what we did, we spoke to a few online suppliers, and 3 of them all came back and offered our listeners a 10% discount on any case of beer featuring any one of the beers that we're doing this season. So it's all up on the website, but we'll just give a shout out to Ours by Mal, Honest Brew, and the Beer Boutique, who are all doing 10% discounts on any order featuring one of the season beers. If you're clever, the way you work out which beers you put in your box, the 10% basically gives you free postage and packaging.
Very good. Little tip there.
Yes.
Yeah, big thanks to those guys. So check them out. There was also, you actually, sorry, I'm kind of lost in my words at the moment. There is someone that you mentioned at the bottom of Craft Beer Compare. They kind of went
Yes.
through the list and picked out where people could buy the beers.
Yeah.
I think there was a couple that may be a little bit difficult to find, but generally everything should be available somewhere.
hmm I think, yeah. I think the hop stuff beer is fairly limited in places you can get it from at the moment. And I think the beers that we're doing next week, the Harvest-Dune ones, haven't gone out on general release yet either. But we'll give you an update about those next week.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's good to have you back, mate.
Mate, it's good to be back. It feels like forever.
I know.
But now we're back. It feels like just yesterday.
Yeah,
But no, it's good to be back, mate.
indeedy. And next week, what beer are we doing next week? 'Cause I don't have the schedule up.
We're double header next week. Harvest-Dune have just released 2 new beers.
Well, that's right.
One that's called the Ridge, which is a pale ale, and one called Broken Dial, which is an amber ale.
Lovely.
We're doing them both on the single show, so
Hey!
yeah, that's why, because our listeners want to hear more of that. And potentially, if all the moons align and everything comes in at the same time, Doody should be on next week's show,
Very good.
reviewing with us. He was begging to come on the show. He was struggling to get hold of the Harvest-Dune beers. Seeing as we were very lucky boys and received a crate of each from Harvest-Dune, I've put some in the post to him today, actually. So hopefully he should have those by next Monday, and then we'll be able to have Doody on the show with us. Probably won't be able to shut him up as usual.
Very good. Not a London brewery, but one of our favourites, Harvest-Dune.
No, not every week's going to be a London brewery.
No.
It's kind of every second or third week we'll be doing a feature on London, because as great as London is, there are still many, many, many other fine breweries all over England, Scotland, Ireland, Wales, and the rest of the world that we'll get to them all eventually.
Eventually.
Yes.
Right, that's it. Until next week, mate. Thanks very much.
It's been the highlight of my week.
Mine too. But I had a shit week. Anyway, cheerio.
See you, mate.
Bye.
It's Beer O'Clock and welcome to another instalment of our Season 4 Breweries of London series. This week we've got a returning guest to the Beer O'Clock show, someone that we've featured before. Welcome back to James Yeomans of Hop Stuff Brewery. Welcome, James.
Hello.
James, it's been a while since we last spoke. It was back last summer where you had just successfully crowdsourced an amount of money to open up a brewery. And here we are, just a few short months on, actually sat in your brewery now.
Yes.
How does that feel?
I've just realised it wasn't a whole it wasn't a massive amount of time ago that we met and talked about it, and to actually be in the building and be here, it's a good feeling. We're working really hard, very tired, but having a lot of fun doing it as well. So we got the keys to this place in September.
Mm-hmm.
First commercial brew went through in October, and we're kind of going strength to strength from there, really.
Excellent. So, how you say your first commercial brew went out in October? What are the sort of beers that you're producing at the moment?
The two we first produced, I was quite keen to get proper session beers out. I think a lot of London breweries do fantastic things, but there are a fair amount of breweries that won't ever repeat the same beer and things like that. And I kind of think that if you brew something you like, and if you brew something that people like, most importantly, then keep going. So we did our pale ale, our 4.5% bitter pale, and our 4.3% session amber, Fusilier. They were the first two to to go out the door. Followed by our 5.6 Renegade IPA, which was the beer we used for our crowdfunding. So we brewed it on a far smaller kit and sent bottles to our investors. And finally, our 7.4% Gunners Porter, which is a real winter warmer.
Excellent, and we do all enjoy a winter warmer. How have you found managing brewing 4 different beers on a fairly small production scale?
Four beers on 2 FVs is quite a difficult one to juggle. We made sure that we put about 1,200 bottles of our Renegade and Porter. We produced about 1,200 bottles of each. So even when the casks go, it means that we have a bottle reserve kind of kept with us. Because it's important for us to make sure that our pubs can carry on getting the pale and fusilier, but then also make occasional guest appearances of the other 2. So it's a difficult one to juggle. The FVs are normally both full all the time, and we quite often rack, clean down and go straight into another FV on a brew day. Difficult to juggle, but a lot of fun. It allows people to try a range of hop stuff beers.
Yeah. And you mentioned earlier about the Renegade IPA. That's the beer that we featured on the show tonight.
Yeah.
That was your first beer that you produced before you went into the crowdsourcing?
So as part of our crowdfunding process, we kind of thought that it was important to give our investors or potential investors a taste of what we were looking to do. So the IPA that I wanted to make was just very fresh and it was a kind of archetypal new London IPA. A lot of London brewers are producing them, and I think they're incredibly popular. And we ran just into kind of winter as we were doing it, which was maybe not the best time to release the IPA in cask to pubs. That said, it flew and we ran out.
Excellent.
It absolutely flew. And then we now have a bank of bottles so that when we come into the slightly warmer spring weather, and we'll do other brews up until then. So there'll be plenty of bottles available.
Okay, so looking forward, what's on the horizon for you? What have you got planned for the coming year in terms of the brews? Are you adding anything new, or are you sticking with the same core range?
Over the coming year, what we'll probably do, the porter will drop as the weather warms up a little bit. We've got a couple of recipes kind of cooking in the background for a spring and summer beer, and we'd like to basically do 1 per season in addition to our core range. I think that's kind of what we'll probably do. We're getting a 1 barrel put upstairs so we can experiment more on our 1 barrel without running a full 10 barrel. So we're going to have a play around with that in the new year. We've got a couple of big events coming up in the new year, the Wetherspoons London Beer Festival, and so that'll see our beer across London, which is a great way for us to spread the word about what we're doing, because we get around South East London quite a lot, but at the moment, because we simply don't have enough hours in the day, we haven't had a chance to get around properly. So as we come into the new year, hopefully you'll see a lot more of us around London, and hopefully a bit further afield as well. Excellent.
And where do you get your inspiration from? Where do you come up with these new ideas for your brews?
Primarily, I think it's drinking too much of other people's beer. If you find a beer that you like and you can kind of have a taste of it and think, okay, well, I like this aspect of it, I like this character, I like, there are styles of beer that I'm a big fan of. The IPA the new IPA is a beer that I absolutely love. It's something I can sit and drink all night. The new porter we brewed as well. I was really keen to do a strong dark porter because there are a lot of kind of 4.5%, 5% porters, and I thought, well, let's go a bit out there and let's do a 7.4.
That's quite a way up there as well, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it is. We normally put 12 brewers barrels into our copper, and to do the porter we could only do 7, because we had to reduce the amount of water coming through to make sure that it was stronger.
Excellent. And I mean, it could be said. Well, I think it can be said that you've been fairly successful in the crowdsourcing in getting the brewery up and running in a fairly short amount of time. What's the one piece of advice that you could give to anybody looking to get into a similar sort of situation as you found yourself in?
Sleep lots before you do it. My girlfriend's been a key player in this as well. I do a lot of the publicity side of things and speaking to people, and I can do the tasting the beer and that sort of stuff. But she really is the brains behind the operation. So yeah, just be prepared to work very hard. I mean that's kind of a lot of investors we've met since the crowdfunding said that they were impressed about with how hard we were willing to work to kind of make it work, and the speed in which we've done it. I think that goes to show we have been working hard to make sure it gets done on time.
Excellent. And what does it? You've mentioned a few times about the London brewery scene and the London IPA and that sort of thing. What does it mean to you to be brewing in London right now?
It's a fantastic time to be doing it, and I think when I first started it, and before I met a lot of the other London brewers, I was a bit nervous about it because you're coming into a club that already exists and has been running since kind of 2009, 2010 really. So you're kind of late boys to the party. But the other members of the LBA and the other London brewers are all really nice guys, and it's just nice to be able to bounce ideas off them, work with them. The brewers market we had in Spitalfield last week was fantastic, and a great chance to meet other brewers as well. So it's an incredibly exciting time, and we enjoy it, and we like working with them.
And now a chance for you, an on the spot sales pitch. Why should people buy Hop Stuff beer?
Good question. We like how it tastes. We all of our beers have been done deliberately so that they're beers that we would like to drink. We enjoy them. So I think if people are just wanting to try something new, maybe try something local if they're from the southeast London area, Kent, wherever, come and give us a try. And you know what? If you don't like it, then fair enough, that's your taste. But we like what we're doing.
And as you should do. Okay, so finally then, James, just tell us how people can find your beer. Is it widely available in pubs? Is there a site where people can buy the bottled stuff from? How do we get your beer to our listeners?
South East London pubs are probably your first port of call. Greenwich, Woolwich, come and have a look for us. Short of that, keep an eye out on the on various websites. Keep an eye out for our website, hopstuffbrewery.com. We're going through the process at the moment where we're upgrading it all, and we have our license for the brewery now, so we are able to sell online. So yeah, there are plenty of ways to get our beer.
Brilliant. James, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
I'm going to let you get back into the brewery to produce more of your great product. And just to say to our listeners to listen out for the next instalment of the Breweries of London series coming soon.